The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Sometimes it feels good just to be alive. It's Wednesday night, and we're both alive. There's 120 people who have died for every person currently alive on Earth. It's about 1 trillion humans, and we're not either one of them. I don't know if you're sitting in bed watching this, but sometimes it's good to be me. It's Wednesday night. It's March 19th, 2025. It's 9 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 6 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 a.m. in Singapore, 12 noon in Sydney, Australia, and here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I am Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night, and I forgot to check, but I think this is episode number 211, if I'm right, if you're keeping score at home. We don't have a guest tonight, but this is long planned. It's open phones. You call up. You be the guest. Numbers on the bottom of the screen right here, 325-225-5546. And if you can't remember that, try 325, call Jim. Try that. Look at the little alphabet things on your phone. You can do it. You can do it. You call up. We got an auto screening system here. It's fantastic. An AI voice will take your message and all sorts of stuff and photo. I got a thing here on the side of the screen. It works. And it will tell me what you want to talk about. And yeah, well, I'll put you on, man. That's the idea. That's what we got going on here. Now, tomorrow night, Leah Richardson, psychologist from Dallas, founder of the Brain Performance Institute and Brain Performance Center in Dallas, she joins us for her second interview of 3 based on our new book, Crisis Brains. And we taped this on Saturday because she was going to be out of town. I can't remember what it's about. Something about decision making and leadership. Yeah, I can't remember. You call up, you tune in tomorrow, you find out. I'll find out too. I'll watch it at the same time. I'll watch it when you're watching it. So next Thursday is our third and last interview based on that, and that's going to be live, I think, because we might take phone calls. We might take your questions on that. So that's tomorrow night. Friday night, yeah, we're doing a show on Friday. We usually don't. I'm hyping this for the last week. This is the first time since we started July 31st, 93, that we've done 5 shows in a row all week. First time. We have a show on Friday night. Sina McCullough, the medical correspondent of the Epoch Times, is going to be joining us. We're going to be talking about the bird flu. And there just was some news about that yesterday. So I want to run that by her too. About how dangerous this is, whether it's dangerous. You know, we just went through COVID. We're all turns out the government lied about everything. You know, I'll get into that later because I kind of don't understand. I don't understand the motivation for people doing this other than power. And I suppose maybe I'm just naive. I keep saying that all the time. Excuse me. I muted myself. I did not burp into the microphone. Anyway, we're going to run a commercial here, and then we're going to take your phone calls at 325, call Jim, 325-225-5546. You want to talk about anything you want, open phones. I know, they say if you do this on the radio, we're not on the radio, we're on the inner tube right now, but if you do it on the radio, the host is supposed to like come up with a question to get your mind going. No, you're not that stupid, are you? You don't need a question from me. Call me and talk about whatever you want to talk about. I don't care. I really don't. Anything you want. Like I said, you're the guest. So it's like, front and center, you're important. I ask questions. That's what I do. So we're going to do a commercial here. We'll be right back in just a minute. Stay tuned, please. Hi, all. I want to talk to you about Conk News. You've probably heard me talk about this before, but if you're a news junkie, you should try this out. Conk News is a news aggregator. Now, there are plenty of news aggregators on the web, but Conk News is different than all the rest, and here's how. Most other news aggregators will lump the top stories from each news source under that news source. The top 10 stories, like, for example, from Fox News, Breitbart, the New York Post, etc. What Conk News does is it sends its servers out onto the web to over 75 different news sources every 3 hours. And yes, this is an automated process, but in this case, that's actually a good thing. And collects the latest stories from said 75 sources and then lays them out on its own front page in the order they were posted, regardless of the source. So you see the latest stories at the top of the front page, regardless of where they're from. And this is all free to you. You don't need to log in. You don't need to subscribe, register, nothing. It's completely free. All you have to do is go to conk.com to check it out. That's conk.com, 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 Conk News. So I assume at this point you've noticed this. For the Conk News commercials, the audio is recorded, but that picture that we show on the screen is the Conk News front page in real time. That's literally, and the thing is, we put it up about a half an hour before we start, but it usually rolls over at some point. But when we do the second commercial, whenever that is, half an hour from now, it'll probably be different. And that's one of the cool things about Conk News. The front page changes every 3 hours. So yeah, and it usually changes during. I don't exactly know when the rotation when it flips over, but it usually changes sometime during the show. So we've noticed that there. So I want to thank. Last night we had on Steve Mera from the UK, paranormal investigator extraordinaire. That was a fascinating discussion. And if you're into paranormal stuff at all, or UFOs, or whatever you want to talk about, crop circles, we covered the gamut. The interview was 80 minutes long, kind of on the long side for the show, but still. And the amazing thing is we never got around to talking about the thing that I wanted to ask him, the actual thing I started asking about the beginning of the interview. We never did, which was he did a investigation in Dallas of this extremely haunted house that he said shook him to the core. And actually, there's a reason I'm bringing this up here, because new polling's coming out about what's going on in Washington. As a general rule, Trump has roughly a 50. I'm actually rounding these figures here. Roughly a 50% approval rating was doing. Congress, the Republican Congress, has like a 60% approval rating, believe it or not, and the Democratic Congress and the Democratic Party are in the dumpster at around 27 to 30%, right? But this is the thing I don't get. There's a book coming out by a couple of reporters from the New York Times about the 2024 election, and it's about how Chuck Schumer was certain at the beginning of the year that Trump was finished. They said there's no way in hell they're going to renominate this guy, especially after we drag him to the court and all this sort of stuff. And he said in this quote, he's quoted as saying that he really hopes the Republican Party returns to what they used to be. Well, neither one of those things happened, not even close. But my point isn't really politics here. My point is, how come these people who get paid to do this, their profession, can't read the room to save their lives? And I'm going to blow my own horn here. I predicted, and the thing is, you can go back and watch the tapes. Matter of fact, I think I actually did this the night before the election definitively. I predicted the election almost precisely within 10 points of the electoral college, the popular vote almost exactly. Matter of fact, the only thing I could find really fault in myself is that I thought Harris was going to win Arizona, and that's how well I did. And I had Mark Tapscott on from the Epoch Times the week before, and his prediction almost exactly matched mine. So, you're talking about, no, Tapscott's a professional, okay? I'm just a guy sitting in my underwear, and actually not in my underwear. I got a wonderful sweater. I got my, what's his name? Mr. Rogers sweater on tonight. I usually don't do this. A little on the chilly side today. But anyway, back to the point. Tapscott's a professional. He's been doing this 40 years. I'm just a guy sitting in Minneapolis talking to you, and still, I got this totally figured out. I mean, I'm blowing my own horn here. So last night, Mira says he's talking about the investigations. He's for years, about 17 years, he said he did investigations for corporate entities where literally, as a matter of fact, he said his biggest job was the Ministry of Defense in Britain, which is their Department of Defense, called him up to figure out why, if and why and how this one building they had was haunted. And he said it's a large building. Apparently, I didn't recognize it, but apparently it's a fairly prominent building in the British government. And they had him go through it to figure out if it was haunted. And I asked him, if you go back and look, I'm seriously watch this. If you're really into this stuff at all, this you cannot find a more fascinating guy than this guy. He's been doing this for 40 years, and this is the point. He says, and told me, and he's told this to many other people, that actually he's a skeptic, that he doesn't actually believe all this stuff. And when I mentioned to him, and I'm talking to you, is that you may not believe it, but I am too. I'm generally a skeptic. I mean, I go by Stanton Friedman's thing about that fact that 95% of all UFO reports are bogus. Now, that doesn't mean people are lying. The majority of them are sincere individuals who are just mistaken, who have misunderstood something or misidentified something, but they're not real. 95%. So I asked him, Steve, during this interview, what percentage of these haunting or residual haunting cases that he ended up investigating, how many of them were bogus? And he said, and I guessed, I said, it's going to be about 70%. He said it's exactly 72%. All right, I'm pretty good at this, And the thing is, and that's the thing, it's not an either or transaction. It's not. I mean, there's percentages involved in all this stuff. Now, case in point, the JFK files were released yesterday. Now, it took, there's 80,000 pages of them, even when AI starts plowing through this. And apparently, AI couldn't start plowing through it a lot right away because a lot of these pages are really hard to read. Apparently, they're blurry, or it's just like they do not OCR well, apparently. But people have started plowing through this now. And David Strom, our friend on Hot Air, he reported this morning that, and I have to admit, I might be wrong on something here. I have no problem admitting that at all. It turns out that the implication that's coming out through the files is that, okay, Lee Harvey Oswald was the shooter, but it was also conspiracy. And believe it or not, supposedly wasn't the CIA. The Soviet Union paid him to kill Kennedy. That's what's coming out now. And so then you're wondering why did it take so long to figure this out? Because the CIA is embarrassed as hell. The fact they knew this for months apparently, and still didn't stop Oswald. That's what's coming out of this. Now, in my scenario, I said there was a conspiracy, but it was run by the Chicago mob, and that Oswald was likely one of three shooters at the same time, one of the three people shooting. And no one's ever, everyone's trying to figure out if Oswald actually did this, but there's a good possibility he did it in tandem with other people. Because if you're going to do the job well, you would triangulate the shooting. That's what you would do. And supposedly, James Files, the guy who said he was involved in this, and there's some physical proof to prove that he is, he said that there were two other shooters other than him. Now, the amazing thing is, he said he did not actually know who the shooter was in the Texas Book Depository, but he knew that his boss, Chuck Nicoletti, was in the Dahl Tech building across the street on Elm Street. So that's what he knew. But he knew they had a third shooter, but he said he didn't actually know the identity of that guy or that person. But it turns out that the implication now is that the Soviet Union paid Oswald to shoot Kennedy, and that makes a lot of sense, actually, if you know the story there. The story is that, and this is all verified history information. So Oswald moved to the Soviet Union and gave up his American citizenship. This is about in 1961, I think it was. And of course, the Kennedy assassination, the shooting was in November '63, and I think it was in early '63 that Oswald, with his new Russian bride, came back to the United States. And everyone's always wondered, as I have too. Normally, in that time, if especially if you renounced your American citizenship and you moved to the Soviet Union, you're not coming back. And for some reason, not only did Oswald get to return, he got to return no questions asked. He did not end up in prison. He did not end up in any sort of debriefing, nothing like that. He just came back. And that was basically not allowed at that time. And I've wondered always it's very, very fishy. And it always has been. And so that, that gets me to the point where I have said this before, and apparently this even was verified a couple years ago that Oswald was actually an operative for the CIA, and I'm starting to wonder now, based on this new evidence, if he was a double agent. I'm starting to wonder that because that's the reason they let him back into the country. He was a CIA operative with no questions asked. They just basically let him back in, and that wouldn't normally happen. Call me up, 325-225-5546. Or you can send me a text message too at 408-458-5088. Information is on the bottom of the screen. You can see it. So at any rate, uh, what was my point here? Oh, my point is, yeah, my point is, I have to admit, I might end up being wrong about this. The thing about, excuse me, the thing about the Chicago mob wanted, you got to understand, there's all sorts of people who hated Kennedy's guts. So you're saying, well, why would the CIA want to kill him? The CIA wanted to kill him because he completely botched up the Bay of Pigs. Kennedy did. He was like only in office for 2 months. The CIA was tasked before Kennedy took office by Eisenhower. They were going to raid and take over Cuba, and that's what the Bay of Pigs invasion is. And you can look that up online. The wonderful Wikipedia and all those wonderful people over there who say they work for free, whatever. So they stormed they stormed Cuba at the Bay of Pigs, which is a bay in the Caribbean, and they got slaughtered. Not only did they get slaughtered, but supposedly Kennedy was supposed to send in air backup, and he refused at the last minute. He refused to do it. So their men literally got slaughtered. They got slaughtered, and then a zillion of them were taken prisoner and tortured by the Cubans. This did not sit well with the CIA, and they never really forgot it. So there's that. The Chicago mob wanted Kennedy dead because he said he basically, or at least his father anyway, during the campaign, he courted them and saying, I'll leave you alone once I'm elected. And he did a completely opposite. He did a 180 and he hired his brother as attorney general, and his brother started to chase after. Matter of fact, the Kennedy administration was the beginning of the end of the mafia in the United States. Robert Kennedy did a fantastic job basically shutting them down. And they resented that too, about the fact they basically were lied to their face. There's that. So you got a whole bunch of people who had reason to want Kennedy out of the way. And then the Soviets didn't like him because he was basically kind of showing them up. It goes on and on and on. About the only people who did like Kennedy was the American public. They loved him. I mean, that was if you're talking about this beloved scenario from the past, man, it was that way in the 1960s too. I know, I hate to say it, I was alive. I'm that old. So yeah, it's like he was a very beloved figure, and I'm convinced if he had lived, he would have gone down as a great president. I'm totally convinced of that. There's some people who think that another reason that the military wanted him killed is because he was opposing going into Vietnam, and he was. And Johnson, as vice president, the guy who became his president, wasn't. They were at odds with that, but according to this scenario, that didn't play into that very much. There's another scenario too, and this is legit. This is an actual legit thing. I'm not making this up. This is historical fact too. 10 days before JFK died, he signed an executive order ordering the U.S. military, the Pentagon, to contact the Russians to start trading information about UFOs. And it actually says I haven't seen it in ages, but I've read it. In the executive order, they actually use the term unidentified flying objects. It actually says UFOs. And a lot of people thought, well, that's nuts too. We don't want to do that. Especially if you talking about the part of the military who at that point already knew the UFOs were real. We don't want to tell the Russians about this. So I'm fast forwarding now to last week. There's this documentary that came out that the premiere at the South by Southwest Film Festival about it, and it's called The Age of Disclosure. And this documentary got this guy named Dan Fahar, he's a first-time director, but he is a professional in Hollywood. He's a professional producer. And so I got kind of confused there. People saying he's never directed a movie before. That's actually true, but he's been working in movies forever, so he understands the process. I was starting to wonder, how did a first-time director actually get all these people to apply to um, come on camera at once and talk about this? And Farrar said there are two things. He did the movie entirely in secret. He didn't tell anybody he was doing, and he told everybody that all the other people were doing it. And so basically they all agreed to do it because everyone else was doing it. And that was kind of a fib, but it worked. So good for him. But I was sitting here wondering, how did a first-time director get all these people to appear on camera? And that's how he did it. But this documentary basically talks about the fact that, first of all, we have these crashed spacecraft. The government is working with it, and they're trying to reverse engineer them. But that this has been going on for 80 years. And the first company or country that cracks the code on this technology is basically going to rule the planet. That's the thing. So it's been an arms race to the death, and which of course, so you go back to 1961 or 63, and you say, well, you tell the army, well, we're going to cooperate with the Russians on this, and the army thinks you're crazy, because even at that point it was totally bogus. They didn't know it was they hadn't figured this out yet. According to this movie, they still haven't really figured it out. And that's Jazz Shaw, my late friend, who died in October, who wrote the UFO stuff for Salem Media. Excuse me. He said the same thing. There's been that he's never been able to get a definitive answer out of the Pentagon. The fact we have these craft is an open secret, but there's some disagreement on whether we've actually been able to reverse engineer any of it. Even Robert Lazar, who said he saw these craft fly at Area 51, even he wasn't talking about replicated versions of them. He was talking about the actual crafts themselves, that apparently we figured out how to fly them, but we haven't been able to figure out to rebuild them, how to build them. So whoever figures that out will rule the planet. Oh, you know something? We got a call here, and I think I know who this is, because I got a fabulous auto screening system here. Is this Santa? Hello.
Ho, ho, ho. Jimmy, how you doing? It's Santa.
It's Santa.
How's it going?
How you doing, Santa? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing really good. Oh, ho. You think I'd be relaxing and enjoying spring break, getting my tan on, but we're kind of busy these days, actually.
Hey,
how are you doing?
Santa, I was just talking about UFOs, and so it occurred to me: has anyone ever mistaken you for a UFO when you're on your midnight ride? Does that ever happen?
Oh, has anybody not mistaken me for a UFO all the time, Jimmy? In fact, people don't believe me. They just think I'm a UFO half the time. They look up in the air. Look at that thing. Everything. I'm competing with everything in the sky these days. Ridiculous.
My God.
I'm a UFO. That's all I am.
I have to ask you though, how do you get down the chimney? I've always wondered this. How does that work? You're carrying a lot of stuff.
Well, we're kind of dealing with that a little bit because people really don't use chimneys. In some places, they don't even use chimneys anymore, actually. In the old days, it was good because, we get older. We get a little bit more budgy around the fat tire.
No, not you. No. Come on.
You can't fit down the chimney anymore. And so I got to do alternatives. I got a master lock key set. Also, I've got some helpers. Sometimes, those little elves, they can fit into everything. They can fit into toilets, chimneys.
You got a master lock key?
They're little. they're a little scared a little times. I figure go down to that like Vietnam, go down to that hole. You don't know what's going to happen, but they got to do their job, and so it's
Hold it.
kind of hard to convince.
I just want to make sure I got this right. You just compared the elves to Vietnam. Did you just do that?
Well, it's kind of rough out there. People sometimes they don't know who you are. You're coming in. You got to be, you got to win the night.
Right.
That's what it is.
Are you calling from the North Pole right now?
No, I'm vacationing a little bit. I went down to, I thought I'd relax, and it's hard to find a spot where somebody doesn't recognize you. And I actually usually vacation. I want to go someplace warm, so I usually go to someplace like Dubai. So that's where I was. Someplace where they've never heard of me. Nice and warm. So warm, I love it.
No, the Saudi Arabians have never heard of you, have they?
No, it's good. But I thought I'd have a lot of time, but actually we're dealing with it's a business. Some of us had a business is something going on, and we're implementing a new software, Jimmy. So we're trying to reduce elf staffing levels and add some efficiency, so they're not just sitting around waiting for work to do. And you wouldn't believe it, but everything is done, with Excel spreadsheets and sticky notes these days.
Hold it. I'm sorry. Hold it.
To do with this every year.
Sammy, I lost you just for a second there. I lost you. What did you say again? Back up a second.
We do everything with Excel spreadsheets and sticky notes.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's our current process. I wonder how we manage to do this every year. Give me the spreadsheets. They just grow and they grow. There's no end. It's unsustainable. So, yeah, it's terrible timing because we need the software before the orders come in for the Christmas gifts now. If you work backwards from December 24th, we got to make everything and have it ready packed by just after the holidays, Thanksgiving. But, nobody's available for testing during those holidays. So you got to go back at least 4 weeks of testing, brings it back to October. You don't want to cut out on testing, Jimmy. It's testing's the redheaded stepchild of software development.
Well,
the whole thing can go to crap.
Santa's, is there any chance at some point you're not going to be able to scale this anymore? I mean, there's 8 billion. You're delivering to 8 billion people right now. I mean, is there any chance that someday you'll?
No, I think we got to look at capabilities outside our own. We looked at there's software that helps us with all this actually, and we looked at a couple of different software packages. We're going with a thing called Elf Metrics. That's Elf Metrics with an X at the end. And we just chose a software. We all looked at some other things. We looked at Alphafies. We looked at Elf Force, but that's more of a sales application, not so much enterprise resource planning.
Oh my God, Elf Metrics, huh?
We looked at Elfmatica and also Microsoft Dynamics.
Yeah, right.
But, we didn't go with Elf Metrics.
You had to throw Microsoft in there, didn't you?
To respond to real-time demands. Well, what's that, Jimmy?
I said you had to throw Microsoft in there, didn't you? You have to.
Oh yeah, they're a big player in the game these days. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we needed a system that responds to real-time demand, reduces inventory, predicts labor, manufacturing costs.
Hey, Santa.
We thought it'd all be in one spot.
Do you have? Do the elves have any sort of internal chat system like Teams or anything like that? Do you use any of that?
But you know what? You'd be surprised at how many different software they use. And we were looking at some documentation for this because I had to use the system. Software adoption is going to be a bitch and a half. But how many languages they'll speak? It's not just one language like the Elvish crap and Tolkien novels. They got all those dialects and variations, and they come from all over the world. It's not some Willy Wonka bullshit where I just saved them some Yeti or something and they're all together.
or the thing in the Snow White movie where they use in a live action movie they use CGI dwarves, something like that. You mean it's not that either, is it?
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, and the elves are union,
Oh,
so we have to do the software specs according to the union
uh-huh.
contract. We build it out. We build it out, and then we find out there's some verbal labor union contracts. I can't work with that. We need stuff written down. We're going to do forms for the software. We need the actual forms, not verbal contracts. So yeah, they're not really big on technology, so I'm not sure how they're going to use this. It's like I said, there's a lot of Microsoft products. That's it, Excel, and what you write down, and it's not really well managed. I'm surprised how we got along this long without it. So I wish
Santa,
us luck on this implementation
I
thing.
never realized your job was so complex. I never realized it. I mean, it's a lot of people, but still, I just
Well,
was not.
people think you just sit on my lap and ask for a gift and poof. No, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background. It's very complicated, and the timeliness too. It's not just right after Thanksgiving. We got to be planning year round. We got to get those supply chains going. It's a big deal, and everything is just magic. It's not magic. It's no magic.
Santa, I have to ask you this: when the adult women sit on your lap at the department store, does Mrs. Santa get a little mad?
Oh, she's one of the nicest women in the world, Mrs. Santa. She wouldn't say it, but I know she. As as you get out there and in the world, you find a lot of different people who sit on your laps, and there's a lot of good ones out there. I can't lie, but she's okay. I don't, I gotta treat it like business. They need a gift, and sometimes they tease you with a gift. Oh, Santa, I like a mistletoe, Santa. They're hinting at things, and I just gotta keep myself in line.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't turn out if you act out something like that.
Well,
You got a reputation to keep. But
you are a very attractive man.
what?
I understand. You are a very attractive man. So I understand how that
Oh,
would happen.
and Jimmy, that look's coming back. Everybody has beards now. There was a whole time, like in the '80s, people who didn't have beards or anything. You look at our presidents from a long time ago; they're all bearded. And
Uh-huh.
then you get to a certain point after 1885 or something. I think Taft was the last one with any facial hair. They all just took a razor out. So Gillette is, a big company these days. But
Yeah,
people like the burly look. They want a brawny man.
yeah, yeah, they do. Now, the last time you were on here, you were telling me that when you went on vacation, you actually shaved the beard off. Do you still do that?
It depends on the heat. Beard's okay, but I like my cuisine, and when I eat a little cuisine, you get the stuff in your beard. It gets nasty sometimes. You get the birds coming. You want to have a nest in your beard or something. It's just clean. It's refreshing, and then you just got to go back to when. I want to go to places too where people don't recognize you. They really don't recognize you when you don't have a beard. Even though I could be wearing the Santa suit and not have a beard, and people still would think I'm the real Santa because there's no beard. That's the authentic piece. But yeah,
Yeah,
I still try to. It doesn't take me much to grow it back.
yeah. And I bet in Dubai, but they don't recognize you at all, do they?
No, no, they don't believe in that Santa stuff. Let me ask you something. Have you ever grown a beard, Jimmy?
Me? No, I look like a homeless person with hair on my face. I don't. No, I haven't. No, no one wants to see
Oh
that,
yeah,
Santa.
it's it gets white later on in life, and it just stays white. That's the nice thing about beards. You just have the one color anymore. It comes in the same way. Once you get it going, it's fine.
Yeah,
And you just don't have to shave every day. It's so monotonous when you have to do that. Obviously I don't know too much about that because I don't shave every day except when I have it off. But I just heard the maintenance of being beard free is awful. It's just freeing to have a beard. It really is.
Yeah, I bet you when you shave that beard off, it's like the best disguise anybody could ever have, ever. No one's ever seen you without it. So I'm sure you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
get to go anywhere.
And I'll be the first to admit I'm kind of a hypocrite too, because I don't let the elves wear beards.
Oh, really?
They have to be clean shaven, Jimmy. They're. I'm the only one who has the beard up in the North Pole. That's it. Me and my Mrs. Santa's sister. Ho 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 ho. It's a little fun.
Oh, she has a beard, huh? Okay. That's good, Santa. You are a man of good humor.
Yeah, yeah. I have one of my favorite jokes is, do you know the difference between uh, a woman from the North Pole and a reindeer?
No.
The mustache.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, man. Well, I tell you what, I think that's a good way to end it.
I enjoyed talking to Jimmy.
Oh, thanks for calling, Santa. I really appreciate it. And enjoy your vacation. I understand the Dubai Mall is really quite something, so you should go there.
Oh, you know what? I think they put snow in there too, maybe, or one of those.
Yeah, they do.
Stay away from those.
That's yeah. I suppose. Yeah, right. It's like old home. You don't need that.
I just want to wish you good luck on your show too. I know this is one of the first times you're kind of going at it alone without a lot of interviews and stuff. So we're all thinking about you.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thanks for calling, Santa. Everyone loves to hear from you. So thank you.
All right. Ho, ho, ho. Have a good night.
You take care. We'll see you. That's Santa Claus calling from Dubai, where he's on vacation. Oh my God. Okay, so yeah. All right. Yeah, call me up. 612. No. Sorry. I'm reading the screen. No, 325-225-5546. So love to hear from you. And I can't remember what we were talking about now. And I think we got this thing. Is this Think? I recognize his telephone number. Hold on. Hey, Think, is that you?
Think. Yep, that's me. Hey.
How you doing?
Was that Santa Claus you were just talking to? What's that?
That was Santa Claus. That's right. He's calling from Dubai. He's on vacation.
Wow. Santa Claus takes a vacation like that? Like he goes to like different states and stuff? Huh. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't. He says he doesn't like
movies. They put.
What was that in the movie? What?
I was gonna say in the movies they only show him in the North Pole. They don't show him on vacation.
No, they don't. I know. He says he likes to go places where he's not recognized, and of course in the Middle East he's not recognized. so how are you doing?
Wow. I'm doing all right. You weren't kidding when you said the other day you don't know who's going to show up. I mean, you had JD Vance on your show recently, and now
I know. I know it is. People call up and they're pretty cool. I gotta admit, and you're the coolest, man. You're the best. So I appreciate it a lot.
Hey, Jim, you had started something earlier with the JFK files.
Yeah.
And, I didn't check into it. I know that it just came out today. A lot of things came out today. That's really cool. But the JFK files. Now you had said that in the JFK files, they have only said that Lee Harvey Oswald is the shooter. Nobody else, right? They didn't have any information on anybody else or suspicions on anyone else.
Hold it.
Is that what you were saying?
I have to be very precise here. So what David Strom said. I haven't plowed through any of this, but supposedly the people that started reading this, no one's actually said he was the only shooter. No one's ever said that. It's just that he was one of the one of the shooters. So if there was a conspiracy, but they're already saying there was a conspiracy. So The scenario as people plowed through this right now is that it appears the Soviet Union hired Oswald to kill Kennedy. That's what it appears.
Hmm. All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if this is the only thing the only question I have about that, if he was the shooter, and well, then he would have to be like a spy. Like if it's a political thing, like he was trying to make a point, he would come out on media. It's like, oh yeah, I killed the president, and this is why I did it because of this, this, and this, and this. But if it's a spy, then he's going to try and lie it off, like pretend that he didn't do it. So
yeah.
maybe it's possible,
Yeah, no, it is. I
but
mean, it's a plausible scenario. I mean, he did live in the Soviet Union, and like, I don't know if you caught me talking about this. He came back to the United States after he renounced his citizenship, and he didn't get questioned or didn't get thrown in prison or anything at all, which was very unusual at that time. Usually, at that time, if you'd gone to the Soviet Union and renounced your American citizenship, basically you're never coming back. And not only did he come back, he got him back in the country with no questions asked, and that's really weird. So there's there's always been the idea that was weird before any of this came out, and so you do wonder. And you were talking about him being a spy. Not only does it seem like he was a spy, he might have been a double agent because we know that he was working for the CIA too. That didn't come out today, but that's been known now for a couple of years that he was actually a CIA operative. They have the records on that. So yeah, it's a very convoluted situation. And what Strom was saying in his article, he said that, well, why would you keep this covered for so long? And the justification seems to be that the CIA was embarrassed about the fact they didn't stop him. Because according to these documents, they knew about this for months. They were even tracking him for months, that they knew the Soviets hired him to kill Kennedy, and they still didn't stop him anyway. So which means they failed. That's what they're embarrassed about.
Did they fail though, or did they want to allow
Yeah,
it?
see,
That's the only question.
that's right. That's right. And Strom brought that up himself. Did they fail, or did they just let him do it? Right. That's right. I know. That's exactly the scenario. I mean, this is all so complicated. You're absolutely correct. Yes, I don't know. I mean, and then of course, if they let him do it, is that a failure? Depends who you ask, I suppose. I don't know.
The recent shooter of Trump, I was listening to. Man, I wish I watched that clip before I came on your show. But Tucker Carlson broke it down like really intensely, and he was like, the shooter, the one that hit Trump's ear.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's a young adult. He's in his 20s or something like
Right.
that, and he doesn't have any social media pages.
Right.
He doesn't have a Facebook. He doesn't have a Twitter, which is damn near impossible, right?
Yeah.
Or what do you call this generation again? I forgot. Millennial.
No, I think he would be Z, wouldn't he? I think.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Gen Z now.
I think he would be Z. Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't have a TikTok or anything like that. He just doesn't have any, and the fact that he was in videos like training video, home and security training videos, it's skeptical. A lot of that is skeptical. And you see how the leftists, the Democrats are treating Trump. And I talked to you last time, and you had said that, and I agree with you, that we won't have a civil war. But the way that the left has been attacking the right, I would say that it's still questionable. I mean, I agree with you like 90%, but there's still that 10% that says it's quite possible. Now, the left has not just been like in the past. When I was growing up, it was comedy. Like they used to make fun of how Reagan talked, or how dumb Bush was, the second Bush, and it was all jokes. But with Trump, they're impeaching him. You know what I mean? They're impeaching him. They're slandering him, like calling him a racist. There was never a president in my lifetime here in the United States where I've heard any president being a racist and being a fascist. I've never heard that term for any president. Maybe you have, but I haven't.
No.
I just heard presidents being stupid, and the only one that's questionable would have been Clinton when he said, "I did not have sexual relations." But nobody cared because everyone was making money with him. So,
Right.
but
Oh, hey,
yeah,
think I gotta tell you, though. You're talking about that thing about the Civil War thing. It's funny you should mention that because I was going through the news this morning and I'm reading about all these Tesla dealerships that are being bombed and all this sort of stuff. And I have to be honest
yeah,
with you, I thought about that conversation we had, and I'm starting to think, there might that Civil War thing.
might be
I
something there,
might be
right?
wrong about that. I might. It's like I don't
Yeah,
know how. And well, the thing is, think about this? Can you have a one-sided civil war? I mean, if these people press this long and hard enough, they're going to just be just. I mean, we're getting back to the summer of 2020 all over again. And so, how much shit can you wreck before people are just completely? I mean, I will say this thing. You might be right about the Civil War thing, but the way things are going right now, if this happens, the Democrats won't win another election for the next 30 years. I mean, because even what I forgot to mention or didn't get around to mentioning when I was talking about those poll numbers earlier in the show about the fact that 60% of the independents are siding with the Republicans. And if they lose, basically right now, the country is so divided that the independents decide elections. And if the independents get so pissed off and look at what's going on and get so disgusted, the Democrats are never going to win anything ever. I mean, it's really they're cutting off their own face. I mean, it's really amazing. It's this stuff they're doing from their point of view. Is their self interest is absolutely stupid, and I don't. But that's the thing. You might be right about the Civil War thing. I don't know. I was sitting there today. I'm thinking, you might have something there. This is getting bad.
yeah. So I think the Democrats know that their beliefs now are just not what the public wants. The majority, I mean, they see the polls.
Yeah.
AOC is going to be the head, from what I heard. But they see the polls. They know that their ideas is not what the mass media wants, but they don't care. I think they're like one of those jihadist terrorists almost,
Yeah.
where they believe in a higher power, a higher cause. And so to them, this is why I think a civil war might be possible. They're gonna try to override the elections and just skip it completely. And they have enough brainwashed people on their side to actually make it happen. I truly like. Last time we talked, you had said that there's a huge. I mean, the polls state that the majority of people are leaning towards the right. That's true, but the majority of the ones on the left are actually doing things. And
Yes.
this was always my concern. But during COVID, I saw this. When I saw the riots happen, but yet the conservatives, being God loving country and peaceful people, that's how I see it. They didn't take action. They just all they did was complain. While the right, the left, the progressives, they took action, and I see that happening. You see it. They're bombing
Yeah.
things. Like, you don't see conservatives doing stuff like that.
No.
But they're doing it. They're bombing. Yeah, and they're I don't know how to say it other than that.
No. You're saying it
they
right.
actually shot for the
You're saying it very well. I'm going
person.
to elaborate on what you just said here because you are absolutely right. I mean, first of all, you have to remember that even though Trump won this popular vote, he only won it by like 44%. So the thing is, they have enough people brainwashed. I mean, you're absolutely right about this. I mean, they have half the country in their camp. So it depends on how elections go down and who shows up and who didn't, all that sort of stuff. They could very possibly actually win something. I mean, they could. There's no doubt about that. I mean, but think about this thing too. Think about this, about the fact that you're talking about like a civil war. We might also see a civil war among the liberals inside the party. I mean, it's good. It's already getting ugly. You have the moderate Democrats versus the extreme liberals, the extreme leftists. And I think the moderate Democrats are starting to get pissed off that their party's basically been hijacked, and more and more people are starting to talk about this. instead of the left versus the right, I could see the left fighting the more left. I could see that too, and literally, literally physical violence. I could see it because these people are not getting along, regardless of what anybody thinks. So there's that scenario also. But I don't know what would be more logical or more rational. Well, none of it's rational. What am I talking about? Shit.
Yeah, the left is definitely a violent. I was just watching a clip by Tampon Tim. I don't know, Tim Walz, the vice president
Yeah.
elect or whatever you call him.
Right.
The vice president, yeah, whatever that guy is.
Yeah, whatever
He
that
was
guy
on
is.
TV saying that, yeah, I didn't know he was so feminine. Like, I only saw certain clips, but they actually showed like clips of him in the past and why he is called Tampon Tim. And it's his feministic gestures. Like, he has hints of being gay. And like there's certain ways and certain ways, I don't know if you ever studied a gay person, but they have a certain swag to them.
Think.
And,
I for years I worked for a gay organization. I'm not gay, but I worked for one. So I did, believe me, I know I've been around plenty of gay people. So yeah, I had an unusual job. I did. So I know all about that. I have to mention before you go on though, the one thing about that's being glossed over in the gay community, and I have enough gay friends now to talk about this. Privately, the gay community is really pissed off about the trans thing. And a lot of gay people want to separate themselves from the trans community because they feel, and rightly so, the trans community is basically making them look bad. They wanted gay marriage and they finally got it. And they just wanted to go about their lives. And all of a sudden, this whole trans thing rose its ugly head. And amazingly, I don't have to tell you this, most of it's not driven actually by trans people. It's driven by leftists who want to make this an issue. And now they're really getting pissed off about the fact that the trans people are making the gay community look bad, and they are, and they're mad. And so I could see shit going down there too.
Yeah, definitely the left is manipulating the sides. They're trying to take advantage of the people who would consider themselves like a minority type thing, or that's been prosecuted. Now, what is prejudice? Of the people that have been prejudiced, that have been treated like in a prejudicial way.
Yeah,
and that's what I see. Like the whole homosexual thing, they're gearing towards this group because I guess they can't gear towards the straight male or the straight woman who's just an ordinary woman. They have to gear towards the other side because nobody wants to listen to them. I think the majority of people know that they're all BS. But before I get into that, I just want to go back to Tim Walz real quick. He was on TV saying that he could kick some people's ass.
Yeah.
Like he was saying, I don't know why people calling me gay. I could kick their ass.
Uh-huh.
And he was saying it towards the right. And that's all I hear from like the right side. Like, let's punch him, let's fight him, pull him to the side, punch him, fuck them, that type of stuff. I mean, Trump says stuff like he uses profanity, but I haven't heard Trump say anything like pull them to the side and punch them. I've never heard that. I heard Trump say that's a shithole country, they're assholes,
yeah,
stuff like that. But I've never heard Trump use violence.
Unlike
the
Tim, I want to stop you. I've only heard Trump say stuff like that one single time, and that's when Joe Biden said that if we were in high school, I would take him underneath the bleachers at the football stadium and beat the crap out of him. And then Trump said, no, I'd beat the crap out of Biden. That's the only time I've ever heard him say anything like that. But it was in response to what Biden said. So I'm just pointing it out for the record. One single time.
Okay. I don't remember that, but I'm glad Trump did say that, show that he has some balls. I mean, for sometimes it feels like Trump is just like a geek. You know what I mean? Like he's smart and he knows how to talk witty, but he's not a fighter. It's good to know that Trump does things like that once in a while, like take action like that. But definitely the left party is a party of violent people. The I used to hang out with I used to chat with this guy on Facebook before COVID, and his name was Ethan. I don't know his last name, but he was a really friendly guy. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, I saw him post something about the COVID. That no, Trump was bad or something like that. And I was like, how is Trump a racist and stuff? And he started cursing at me, and he started yelling, "If you weren't so stupid," and I had to unfriend him. I mean, this was just weird.
Yeah.
So there is a brainwashing. There is my point. They're doing a good job at it.
Yes, they are.
Even they're doing a very good job at it. And back to the whole trans thing. I was listening to Alex Jones' show during the whole COVID thing, but when COVID was starting, and then the shooters started happening. And Alex Jones said something that was ridiculous to me. He's like, the majority of these shooters are transsexuals. And I was, what? Transsexual? I never heard of a transsexual. Like, I'm used to seeing Columbine and then the Virginia Tech shooter, which was an Asian guy. And then there was like these two black guys one time. And I've never heard of a transsexual, but a whole bunch of them. And that's the truth. We've been having a whole bunch of transsexual mass shooters. So have you noticed that?
Yes, I have. But
and that's from the
There's another thing I want to point out here too. I'm going to merge two things you've been talking about, and that is, about the fact that, like I was talking about, that the gay community is starting to hate the trans people. But the other thing is, and you're talking about the trans shooters, this is where this gets really weird, because I have said this, and the thing is, there's a kernel of truth to all this, and that is, I do think transsexuality is a real thing, because I knew a transsexual person who went through sexual reassignment surgery and is now a man, a woman who's now a man, and she's much, much happier. I know this is a real thing. But that said, and this is to address your thing about the trans shooters, the vast majority of people who think they're trans are actually mentally ill. And the problem is, you have to be a psychologist to figure out who the real trans people are and who the crazy people are. The average person can't tell. So you were right. The vast majority, there's a lot of people who've been shooting up places and been basically doing violence, who say they're trans, but I don't know if they're actually really trans or just fucked up. I don't, that's the problem. So I don't, because you are right. I mean, that's the mainstream media doesn't want to cover this. There's been a whole bunch of shootings that have gone on all over the place where the shooter has claimed to be a transsexual, but I don't actually know if they really are a transsexual. But the press doesn't. They're not making that distinction. They don't even bother to distinct it. So I don't know. That's to address what you're talking about here. So in other words, I'm basically agreeing with you both ways.
Yeah, definitely. This whole my brother is gay, and I talked to him about why he's gay, and he explained certain elements to me. And I went to an art school, so I've been around a lot of gay people. I don't know if they're trans or they're cross-dressers, but I don't know if I ever met a trans person that went through the sexual change. But just the very thought of it, like they're injecting themselves with hormones, which should adjust their personality. I take if I drink a can of energy drink, my personality changes right away.
Yeah, right.
A can of,
right. Red Bull, a can of Red Bull.
Yeah,
and you get wings.
My theory is that, yeah. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead. That's all right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I'm just from caffeine. My personality has definitely changed, and I see that in people. People that have like bitchy attitudes or something. I can tell right away they've been drinking a lot of coffee. Coffee affects them, and then that's. Yeah,
I'm laughing because you're absolutely right. You're totally on this. 3 cups of coffee and your personality will change. It's like there's no doubt about it.
That's right. Yeah, and these people are taking hormone shots to adjust their figure. Imagine what that does to your mental.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Men have testicles, and from what I know, our testicles secretes DHT, right? And that's what makes, or what's the men hormone? I forgot what it is.
Testosterone.
There's a man hormone,
It-
testosterone. That's right.
right.
It excretes testosterone, and that's what makes us a man. Now, if we're supposed to have testosterone, but yet you take or you limit that, I mean, what does that do to somebody? And I don't know if you know this, but women are very bitchy. That's what I see. And to have a man with that type of personality, no, I'm sorry, I said it wrong.
No,
Women
that's
are
okay.
emotional.
That's all right. No, that's all right. We understand. You don't have to, this isn't the radio. We don't have to worry about the FCC here. We understand what you're talking about, because I've noticed the same thing, and I'm starting to find it frightening. And that is, if you look at videos, and also the people I talk to in my personal life. I mean, I'm here in Minneapolis. I mean, the congressional district I'm sitting in is one of the 3 most liberal districts in the United States. And almost all the women I know, without exception, just hate Trump's guts. I mean, almost all of them, and they can't really tell you why. So I understand what you're talking about here. I mean, it's almost, you get on like Greg Gutfeld's show, and Gutfeld's talking about this all the time too. It's hard at some point. It's hard to ignore the fact that almost all this is driven by women at this point, and I don't. I don't know what to make of it. I really don't. It's like, it's just, and you're right. The traditionally, and going back millennia, men have said, well, women are emotional, all this sort of stuff. But it just seems like there's a certain lack of rationality here that I can't come to terms with. I just can't. I don't know what's going on. I don't, and I'm not saying Trump is perfect by any means. I mean, I understand why people wouldn't like him. I totally understand that. And and there's some dicey things going on right now about whether he's handling his tariffs right and all sorts of stuff. But the vitriol, I mean, it goes way beyond any sort of irrational dislike. That's the part, and that's what you're talking about here. And also getting back to just, you said your brother's gay. The difference between gay people and trans people could not be more apparent at this point, because gay people don't even know why they're gay. It's just, I mean, there's some theories about why this happens, that it's a biochemical thing in their body, and I won't get into that. But the fact of the matter is, they want to have sex with people that are their own sex. That's their desire. That's especially in men. I mean, if you ever looked at gay porn, it's exactly like straight porn, except there's men there instead of women. Otherwise, it's the same. And so you wonder what they have an urge to have sex with people of the same sex, and they don't even know why. And as long as people consent, that's not a terrible thing. I mean, I'm not going to say, if 2 gay guys want to get together and get it on, God bless them. That's what I think. It doesn't affect me at all. But the trans thing is completely separate from that. It is. You're not talking about people who have an urge to have sex with somebody. You're talking about people who actually want to be another person. And it's like, it's really, really messed up. It really is. Anyway, that's my 2 bits. Talk, please.
Yeah, that's good. My brother said, when I asked him, like, why is he gay? Have you ever seen that clip that with the African guy turning to, like, it's an African politician? Why are you gay? Well, I talked to my brother like that when we were younger, and he told me that when he was younger, there was a guy who touched him and made him ejaculate. And he was around like 6 or 7 years old at the time. And that was his first experience in an orgasm.
Uh-huh.
Now, he's young. He doesn't know that it's wrong that a guy should be doing that to him. But that experience has made him, he thinks that from that day on, he just felt like it's okay to have sex with a guy because of that experience. Now, let me elaborate on that. I've met girls and who were raped when they were younger. There's this one girl. She is so fucking freaky. She's so freaky. But when I'm having sex with her or something, she says some really freaky stuff. And she told me that she was raped when she was younger. Now, as an adult, to get that arousal, that type of arousal, it needs to be in a similar situation for her to get that type of sexual arousal. She wants to have sex with me. This is a good example. She wants to have sex, but she doesn't want me to just slowly undress her and all that. she wants me to. She'll say, "No, don't touch me, don't." And that's the game she'll play. Don't touch me. Don't do this. She
Uh-huh.
wants me to physically like rip her clothes off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's what turns her on.
Right.
And she's not the only one. Yeah.
No,
So
look, I know
we've experienced.
I can personally relate to what you're talking about there. So I understand that too. I understand that
Okay.
exists. So go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's these things that like I might have said it before on your show. They're trying to manipulate the children, and once the children are manipulated, because it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily have to be an experience. It could be like a TV show, consistent TV shows, or in the music or in the news or something, movies or something. And when they're watching this consistent programming where it's okay to be gay, then of course the child is going to be more acceptable of it, like how my brother is. Like he probably didn't think that after that happened. I'm pretty sure he didn't like it, but he became acceptable of it to the
Uh-huh.
point where he is now. He actually ended up living with a woman. He was going to marry a woman that he met in college, but then something had happened, and he's like, I just didn't feel right being with her. She didn't excite me.
Yeah.
But when he met another guy, it excited him more.
Yeah.
And I strongly believe that's from his past experience.
Huh. I
Being
don't
with the girl that was raped.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something to what you're talking about, but on the other hand, too, I have quite a few gay friends who told me they knew they were gay from like the age of 5, 6, never had any, that never had any, of sexual abuse, nothing. They were just gay. There's a really good friend of mine, a guy I worked with at this organization, and the thing is, here's the joke thing. I was raised, my mother, 100 years old, who comes on this program regularly. She calls in. Um, I was raised by her because my father wasn't around very much, and basically, I had the upbringing of a gay man. I was steeped in art and culture and European stuff and all sorts of stuff like that. And then my friend, his father was a very famous police detective, Irish, and he could not have had a more masculine upbringing. And we talk about this regularly, about the fact that if anything, I should have been the gay guy and he should have been the straight guy, and it's totally reversed. And the thing is, he told me about the fact that he was very popular in high school, and I know him, so I know he's not lying about this. And he said that he became popular with the girls because he could have sex, and I'm just going to be just really, I got to be really explicit here.
Yeah.
He could have sex with them and not ejaculate. He could have sex for a long time. And he said the reason he could do it is because he had to think about being with a man. He said the women, the girls didn't actually turn him on. And for that very reason, he could last a long time. And he said the girls in high school basically passed him around for that reason. So, and I totally know he's telling me the truth. I know. But yeah, he couldn't, because the only way he could even get aroused was to think about a man. So I mean, I'm not discounting what you're saying at all. I know some of that stuff exists. I know that. And you're especially right. I think with a lot of lesbian women, I think part of I know I have another friend of mine who's what's called a gold star lesbian. She's never had sex with a man in her life. And she says her and her girlfriends, they talk about this. There's what they call, she would call herself a real lesbian, and then there's other people that she calls are fake lesbians. And these are the women who are either in it for politics or because they've been sexually abused. In other words, they're all messed up. That's their, so, and my friend does not consider them real lesbians, but they're there, and you're right. They're either there because they've been sexually abused or they hate men or for whatever reason, it's like, but so I mean, there's all sorts of different ways to look at this, in other words, I'm not trying to discount your experience at all. I'm trying to add to it.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that everybody's that way, but I agree with you. Like it's just
and the problem the problem with the trans guys, and I'm going to say guys because almost all of them are, although the person I knew wasn't. My friend, my acquaintance, actually transitioned from a woman to a man, but it seems like the people who are doing it, who get all the attention, are doing the opposite. there's 2 days for different ways to look at that too. But the like I said, as far as I can tell, from what I understand, the legitimate transsexual people, there's very, very few of them. Very few. The vast majority of these people who think they're trans are just nuts. So it's like that. So then you get to the same thing. I mean, it's kind of the same deal. It's like, how do you figure out what somebody's motivation? How do you figure out where they're coming from? I don't know. But as far as I can tell, like you were saying, the vast majority of the violence in the trans community is by the crazy people and not the real trans people. That's the way I look at it anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I used to think when I was younger, one of my science teachers, I guess I was lucky to have some very good teachers when I was young. One of my science teachers was telling me about a frog, and I'm pretty sure you know this story, where if there's too many frogs in a pond, the frogs will actually change sex. So
Yeah,
there'll be more males and females to control the population.
right.
And I was thinking that for a long time. And that was my belief on gay people for the longest time, that maybe we're being overpopulated
Oh,
and this is the planet's way
that's
of
right. No, no, no,
what.
no. Think you're absolutely onto this. One of the primary theories of homosexuality is urban overcrowding, because supposedly, statistically, there are more gay people in urban areas and rural areas, and there's a theory now that one of the ways this happens is at a certain a specific point in fetal development, if the mother's under undue stress, the hormones in the fetus can kind of sort of flip or something like that, and that creates a gay person. That's the theory right now, and you're absolutely right. It's tied to urban environments and overpopulation. You're absolutely correct, because you see that's the thing, you're addressing this, and that is in the mammal world, about 10% of all mammals are gay. That's been observed too. So it's obviously some sort of relatively natural phenomena, and hit it on the head. The primary theory is it has to do with overcrowding, right?
Yeah, yeah. But after hearing what my brother said, I just question it. I kind of feel there's a force. Uh, well, if that's the case, if this whole gay, because there's more gay people now than either they're coming out now finally, or they're starting to be more gay people now in this year than when I was growing up. When I was growing up, it was very rare
Yeah,
to meet a gay person. Whereas now, I'm in the gym and I'm seeing men wear tight yoga pants that are hot pink, and it's acceptable. I don't know if you know what yoga pants are. Have you
yes.
ever seen
No,
those?
no,
Women
no,
wear
no,
them.
no, no,
They're
no.
skinny tight.
Think,
Yeah.
think. That's
Yeah.
yoga pants are the talk of my generation. I don't know what you guys are talking about over there, because like my 30-year-old nephew, he says, they might as well be naked. you, the yoga
That's right.
pants,
They might as well be naked.
yeah, these yoga pants leave nothing to the imagination at all. It's like, so yeah, no, 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 no. We talk about it all the time. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other
Yeah.
day.
So
Anyway, go ahead.
no, no. What did he say?
Oh, he
You
said the
said your
same
brother was
thing. He said, yeah, it's like it's the yoga pants. They're on the verge of obscene. They are. It's So I don't know. What do I know? But he was
yeah.
comparing it, and you're not that young. He was comparing it to like the braless look in the 1970s. Now this is a really weird thing. Women hardly ever go braless anymore. But in the 70s and 80s, it was kind of a thing. Women would not wear bras, and frankly, you could see their nipples underneath their shirts, and that was kind of a deal, and nobody seemed to mind that. But now people won't do that, but they'll put yoga pants on. Just like, I don't know. I'm old.
Yeah. At the gym, I see guys wear that, and it's hot pink, sometimes hot green,
Uh-huh.
and it's a normal thing. But then again, I go to Planet Fitness, and Planet Fitness is supposed to be one of those liberal gyms where they're very acceptable of homosexual
Yeah,
people.
that's right.
So it's yeah, yeah, and it's just loaded with that type of people there. It's it's I don't know. Maybe it is an overpopulation thing, and it could also be a like a psychological thing where, like in the experience, like getting raped by a the same sex person when you're younger.
Yeah,
It could be, or some experience, but maybe a combination of both of
I
them.
bet it's a
That's
combination
probably
of all those things.
okay. Yeah, yeah. It's
But
probably a
regard,
combination. I just never. I can't. There's no way. It just doesn't feel right to me. Like if I were to be with another man, it definitely would not.
oh, I
No,
couldn't
no
do it.
way,
No, I've always
no
said
way.
if you put a gun to my head and told me to put my erection inside of that man's rectal area over there, I couldn't do it. You'd have to kill me. I mean, it's not. I literally couldn't do it. I just it's like it won't work. So yeah, testosterone has it. I mean, testosterone does certain things, and it won't do that for me. So like that's not going to happen. So
I talked to I talked to this girl one time about porn. This is when I was younger, and she said something that most guys usually say, but she had said that she doesn't understand porn because most of the girls in porn are ugly. Only the guys are hot. And I'm what? I listened to her. I was like, what? Because guys usually, but when we watch porn, a straight guy would say that the guys are ugly and only the girls are hot, right?
well,
And
hold
this
it.
girl,
I don't.
for her to say that,
But think. I have to ask you. When did you have this conversation? Like what year? Do you remember? It's like 20 years ago or 2 years ago. When did you have this?
this was in 1991 or 92.
Okay, so I'm going to run this theory by you. The women in porn have gotten a lot hotter in the last 20, 30 years. I mean, if you go on Pornhub now, I'm astonished by how attractive some of these women are. It's like just amazing. So maybe that has something to do with that too. I don't know. I don't know if women doing porn 30 years ago were. I mean, we're making generalizations here, but I don't know if they were that hot. Do you?
I I think they were hot.
Oh, okay.
Even it. I mean, as long as they had a nice body and an okay face. I mean, the women at at this time, Gina Jameson, I think, was the hottest thing in
Yeah.
porn
Uh
at
huh.
that time,
Right.
and there were a lot of girls that were similar to her. But rarely, I mean, for her to say that a girl is not hot, and the guys were hot. I didn't think any guy was hot in porn. I mean, we had Ron Jeremy at that time,
Yeah.
and come on, Ron Jeremy actually was a good looking guy when he first started in porn. Have you seen pictures of him?
No,
He
actually, I
was
haven't.
he was like
All I know of
yeah,
him
he
is
was
an
a good
old
looking
dude.
guy when he first started.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. When he first started, he was slim. He had this hairy body, but I guess it was fashionable at the time to have that hairy like
Oh man,
mustache and
it
that type
was.
of yeah, yeah.
It was a
But
look.
to me, I wouldn't say that Ron Jeremy is sexy or anything
Hold it.
like that.
You're
You
in
know,
your are you're in
go
the,
go ahead.
you're in your 50s, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, I'm pushing 70, so I have a few years on you. But in the 1970s,
Uh-huh.
it was all about massive amounts of pubic hair. That's what.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. No. All those movies you've seen, that was not a lie. That was a big deal, and it was very fashionable. And it's like you wonder why. You look back and I think, oh my god, it's like that's ugly, but that's what we were doing. So that yeah, no,
Wow.
you nailed that correctly about the fact that yeah, it was very hairy. That was the whole deal.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I still wouldn't say Ron Jeremy is the sexy guy or any of the sexy guys in porn are sexy because I'm just not that way. And the girl that I talked to, I knew she was straight by the fact that she said that.
Yeah,
She was just a straight girl. There's no lesbian attributes in
right.
in her talking to me. But like the girl that was raped that I talked about, that they would tell me that girl's hot. Well, and we're going into like Walmart, and she'll pass by and go, "She's hot. She's hot." It's just you know somebody's gay, but when they they're not so when they're comfortable saying another person that way.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with this. It's a
No.
long
It's
story.
no, it's okay. I will add to this at my peril, but I will. And that is the interesting thing about women is women. A lot of straight women will find more. excuse me, will find more women beautiful than I think straight men do. And I don't know if that's because they're being like more accepting, or they don't quite get what the definition of hot is. And I also I look at women, especially in the media, regularly, and I try to figure out why some of them are hotter than others, and exactly specifically why. And I don't, other than general health, which somebody brought up years ago, and I realized, well, geez, that's actually a pretty good definition. People are basically attracted to very healthy bodies. Other than that, I can't really come up with why some women seem hotter than others. All I know. It's like the judge said once, you know a hot person when you see it. That's all I know. And I can't figure out the
Mm.
definition. But going back to your friend, I think women are more of lack of a better term, is a bad term, but they're more tolerant of that. So they consider more and more people hot than probably you do.
Yeah, probably, probably. That definitely sounds about right. Um, yeah, about that thing that you're talking about, women being hot. I've started to notice, like, when I look in the past, like Cindy Crawford. Do you know who Cindy Crawford is?
Of
She
course, yeah.
she was a supermodel.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So she was, when I was growing up, she was what a woman should be. Like, that's like perfect. That's what a woman.
I
And
still
then they
think
came
that.
to Angelina Jolie.
Yeah,
Oh, you
Angelina
still
Jolie.
think she's
Yeah,
pretty?
I still think, even at her age now. I mean, she's like pushing 60. I think she's just but I agree with you. She was like female perfection. That's right. She was.
Yeah, she was perfection. When all the girls that at that time wanted to be, the girls that I knew tried to be like her. Some of them even drew like a birthmark on their mouth,
Yeah,
try to mimic her.
right.
And then Angelina Jolie came, and then the girls were injecting like stuff in their lips to try to get that voluptuous lip that she had.
Yeah,
But these days, I'm starting to realize that those girls aren't that pretty. I like the the more girl next door, even like more girl next door than the term girl next door.
yeah,
Like they don't have to have a perfect body, and their face definitely does not have to be perfect. There needs to be some sort of look where that's a girl that you could date.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
But
don't.
she's
Yeah,
still hot in some way, but there's a chance that you could get her.
yeah.
And I think that's the sexy look. And do you know who Mila? She's this porn star. She's Mila something. Mila, I forgot her name. She's like this Indian girl with these glasses. She looks like a schoolgirl, like the girl like that you see at the bus stop.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she's considered one of the hottest. Do you know the girl I'm
No,
talking about? I think
I
it's
don't know what you're talking
Mila
about,
something.
but I know the type. I know. Yeah, the girl with the long hair and the glasses has almost become a stereotype in porn. I mean, it's like, that's like, and
Yeah,
even in real life too. I mean, I look at like Kat Timpf on Fox News. I mean, she is rode that stereotype to stardom. I mean, Christ, she looks like the librarian chick. That's what we used to call them years ago.
yeah.
But so you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. And I think that's the look that we're gearing towards for the generations to come. Women, I think, to be considered beautiful in the upcoming years, I don't think it's going to be an Angelina Jolie or a Cindy Crawford, where they're perfect, like they were chiseled by Michelangelo. I think these women in the future that people consider sexy are going to look so down to earth,
yeah.
straight like down to earth. Maybe they might even look like a lesbian or something like that. Just they just look like an average person, like that's so average.
Yeah.
And that's going to be
But
the
how do you
sexy
think?
of the future.
How do you think AI plays into all this now? I mean, you probably. I'm starting to see pictures of AI women. They're all over the place, and my thing is they're almost too perfect. I mean, I think that I mean,
Uh-huh.
I think I'm kind of like alluding to what you're talking about here. They actually look too perfect. It's like, no, that's you don't. No real person wants that.
I was watching this AI of AI of they remade the look of superheroes from the 60s or 70s, and they made the women so voluptuous, and I thought that was very very sexy how they made, because during the 60s and 70s, like the women were in the movies, women in the movies were very thin and very lean.
Yeah.
But they redid this using AI, but the same like coloring and like the age look, the age film look. But the
Uh-huh.
women were very voluptuous,
Yeah.
extremely voluptuous, where you could see the curves in their belly, that they had a belly. And I thought that that was sexy, extremely sexy.
Yeah.
So yeah, AI is definitely. I mean, but that's but that's
Hey,
that. I
and
mean, I've seen AI where they try to mimic the Cindy Crawford. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, I actually had this on the rundown to talk about tonight, and so maybe it's good that I bring this up because uh, the fact that Lily Allen, the singer from Britain, the English singer, uh, she says she makes more money off of selling pictures of her feet on Instagram. No, not no, only OnlyFans than she does off her music catalog on Spotify. And she actually broke this down. She said she makes more. So all she shows on OnlyFans is her feet. No other nudity, nothing. She just shows pictures of her feet, and people subscribe to them. And she says she makes considerably more money from that than she does in her entire music catalog. It's like, and and she, the thing she says, well, don't hate the player, hate the game, and she's got a point. I mean, it's like Christ. I'm not going to hold that anybody against that. I mean, but it's like, and I have to. Then I guess there's a double question here for you. I don't know about you. I don't understand the feet thing at all. I know there's some guys who are really, really into this, and I don't get it. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't get the feet thing either. I don't understand. Like I like to look at women's butts and kind of like their breasts, but I never understood the feet. Like why would someone or hands?
Yeah.
I never understood that. I've never looked at. In fact, I find it disgusting. Like nails, how women are doing their nails these days, where it's super long. I
Uh-huh.
think and all kinds of weird designs on it. I seen this one girl had rings on her that were pierced into her fingernails, and she was when she put up her finger, you could hear ching 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 because of the rings on her fingernail, and I thought it was so disgusting.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the whole feet and the hand thing. I like I like women's face, eyes, butts, but yeah. Well, what is that? Well, why is
I
it
don't
that
know.
people like feet? I don't get that.
I don't either. I don't get it. I just don't. The feet thing seems to be more prevalent than the hands, and I don't get that either. But yeah, I don't understand. And apparently and I've heard of this, there's a website called WikiFeet that actually rates people's feet. And the thing about Lily Allen is that she started this because one of her assistants pointed out that she had almost a perfect rating on WikiFeet for her feet, and she wasn't even taking pictures of her feet. Those are pictures that people had taken of her feet. And it's like, and so she started getting, and that's how she got into this. But it's like, well, first of all, like, why are you rating feet? you know, can you tell me why do guys rate feet?
Yeah. Have you seen guys that have OnlyFans pages that do real well? There are
No,
guys that actually have OnlyFans.
no,
Yeah,
I haven't.
the same thing that I was telling you about the average girl look. There are guys that have the average guy look, like the guy next door, and these guys are making millions off OnlyFans
Really?
as well, and they just have an average look. Yeah,
Well,
an average. So it's not just women; it's guys as well.
you have
So there
educated
there
us yet
is.
again. Thank you. You have educated us.
You
Thank you.
didn't know that?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know that at
Yeah,
all. No, I was not aware of that.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there are women out there looking for older men, like older men OnlyFans pages. There's just so much. What is it? What is it called? Fetishes out there that I wouldn't be surprised that there are people just looking for like random things.
Yeah, well, I
Just
don't have
things like
to.
that turn them on.
I don't have to tell you this. I mean, there's guys who, I mean, we're kind of getting gross here, but I don't care. It's because people talk about this all the time. There, are, chubby chasers, and Ron White, the comedian, he does a whole routine about this. Because he was talking about one of his cousins was into really, really fat women. But this is a real thing. I mean, it's like there are people. All right, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story. My late father-in-law, God bless him, I loved him. I loved my wife's father. He passed away. He was the coolest guy and just funny as hell. So the thing is, so he's at the end of his life, and and I'm taking him places in his wheelchair, and he loved the girls. He did. So he started going to physical therapy, and he wasn't doing any of the exercises. I know that, but I started to take him to physical therapy, and I realized the reason he's going is because the woman who's doing the therapy is literally one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen ever. I mean, she did not belong to physical therapy. She belonged on the cover of a magazine somewhere. She was stunning, and I knew my father-in-law. He's a horn dog, and so I knew he was going to physical therapy just to be around this woman and have her touch him. I knew that. So one day I'm taking him to the therapy class. He went once a week. I took him to the therapy, and the usual woman isn't there, and her substitute is a very, very large obese woman. This woman, she was round. I mean, she was extremely big. And so I dropped him off, and I went to have lunch, and I come back and I pick him up, and I say, I'm driving him out, I'm pushing his wheelchair out of the therapy place, and I said, "How'd it go, Leo?" And he says, "My God, that woman's big." And the thing is, and think she's standing right behind us. So I'm trying to socially rescue this situation. And I say to my father-in-law, just to, well, some people have problems with their metabolism, and you can't really help that. It's just, and he says, well, she must have a hell of a metabolism problem. It's like, oh, it just got so bad. I mean, he was basically insulting her right to her face, and it's like, oh Jesus. But I understand where he's coming from. He's gonna die, and he wants to see the hot chick. It's just, men are just, I don't know. We're just wired weird. It's like you wonder. My father-in-law probably hadn't had an erection in 10 years, and 4 hours before he passed away, he was flirting with the nurses. I'm not exaggerating that. That's really true. It's like, we're just all on the take. Shit. That kind of had to be there. At any rate, I don't know.
The cool thing with older men that I've seen, like really older men, like in their 80s and 90s and stuff, and I see this often. I'm at like the gas station or supermarket or something like that, and I see an old man come up to the cashier, which is a young girl, and it's like, "Hey, baby," or "Hi, honey, how was your day?" And they accept that. They're cool with it. And I even seen older men walk up to a cashier and just kiss them. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't happen often now, but back then, in the 90s and 80s, I would see this often. Older men would just go up to a cashier and kiss them, like it was acceptable. But for someone like me, if I were to walk up to a cashier and then say, "Hey, baby," it's almost like I'm raping them,
Yeah, but
or I'm a pervert.
okay,
Or
so you know why this is
yeah.
happening, because you still got it. See, the old guys are getting away with it. I mean, this is terrible. I just did this weekend, and I had lunch with a friend of mine on Saturday. I had Saturday lunch at a restaurant here in town, and the young woman waiting on us, she's told us later she was like 29 years old, and at some point I said to her, I'm asking her, I said, "Do you have a boyfriend and stuff?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "Does this guy really?" This was a very attractive young woman, also very pleasant. I mean, and I actually meant this. I said to her, I said, "Here's the deal. If I was 30 years younger and not married, I would be all over your ass." That's exactly what I said. And my friend was totally appalled by this. He said, "How could you say that to that young girl?" And I said, "Well, partly I said that because I wanted to diffuse the situation so she didn't actually think I was creeping on her, because I wasn't. It was just a matter of fact statement. I mean, she said, I would have gone out with it if I was young and single. I would have gone out with that girl in a second. But so I didn't want her to think I really wanted to do that. That's one of the reasons I did the exact same thing you're talking about. I just did it. But the
Oh
thing
wow!
is, yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, and she was cool with that, and she was okay with you just laughing off or something like
Yeah,
that,
she seemed to
or
be. She seemed to, I mean, you never know whether, I don't think she was secretly insulted because she came back to the table and talked to us many times. She said, "You're the most interesting people here." So, so yeah, she seemed to be cool with that. And but the thing is, I mean, I'm no threat to anybody anymore. The thing is, anybody, at my age, everyone knows I don't actually want to go out with them or don't, it's like, so, I can, yeah, you're right. I can get away with that. You can't. That's the difference of 15, 20 years,
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I wish I could do that because I would really like to do that. Like go up to a girl and say, "Hey, I think you're very beautiful. I would like to, get to know you better or something. Where I could be open like that." But I'm pretty sure if I walk up to them, they would think I'm some sort of creep.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at older men do this, and I'm like, wow, how do you guys get away with that? That's so incredible.
Well, the thing is, I mean,
Uh,
in this situation, I know I'm never going to see her again. I mean, I go to this restaurant regularly, so maybe I will. But it's such a big place, and it's like I don't, But the thing is, no, for all practical purposes, I know it's the only interaction I'm going to have with her. So and so I can say stuff like that. So, but I actually think that's the thing. It's like if you do it, there's a possibility that people think you're serious. Nobody takes me seriously. I'm too old.
okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, and I'm not trying to like rape any girl or anything like that. I just sometimes I would just like to like just come up and talk to them, like talk to a girl and tell them, hey, I really think you're pretty. Do you work out? Because I work out, and I want to know like what are you doing? What are you eating to maintain that type of physique? That type of stuff without them thinking I'm some sort of creep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do this with guys too. I'll tell a guy, man, you got really nice because I go to the gym and I ask a guy who's a body that I'm trying to achieve. I'll ask them like, well, what type of workouts are you doing? Well, how many times a day are you eating? What are you eating? That type of stuff. And I want to know that about certain women too. Like some women are lean and they maintain that leanness, and I want to know that. Or I see them with a specific body part, like a big shoulder or something, or a butt that I want to accomplish or something like that. It sounds weird, but I want to accomplish stuff like that too. A similar physique of a woman.
Well,
And
it
I'm
doesn't
afraid
sound
that.
weird. It doesn't sound weird. I'm going to run something by you though about the fact that one of the problems I find with straight women is that all women think all other women think like they do. In other words, and the fact is that that could not be more untrue. If you came up to a girl and said, I think you're really pretty into your workout, here's the deal. Half the time they would be very receptive and half the women would blow you off. That's actually what would happen. Now I knew a guy, well, I shouldn't say this, but this guy was a friend of my cousin's. This is like going back like 40 years. I used to live in Los Angeles and I had family there and my cousin and we hung out regularly. And so my cousin had this friend and so my cousin's in his mid 20s at this point and his friend is too. And his friend decided he did this as basically a strategy, and that is he basically propositioned every single woman he ever met. I mean, like point blank, do you want to get together and fuck sometime? And so he did this. And
Oh,
yeah, my friend told me, or my cousin told me, it is astonishing how successful he was. I mean, the majority of women blew him off totally, but he said he got lucky way more than you think. And that doesn't surprise me because I was in college. I'm at the University of Miami, and so I remember like this is one of the first days I was there in the dorm room, and there was this kid from India. He's come just literally right off the boat, and he didn't know anything about America, anything. And so the guys in the dorm are basically punking him, and they said, "Well, here in America, you just go right up to a girl and ask them if you want to have sex." They said they're very open to that. So I mean, I still remember this. We're at the standing at the mailboxes, and first girl he saw, he walked right up to her and said, "Excuse me, would you like to have some sex? Would you like to have sex with me?" And the woman just said, "No, honest to God, think this actually happened. I saw it." The woman actually said, waited a couple beats and said, "Oh, sure, what the hell? Why not?" They went up to his room.
Really?
Yeah, it worked.
Oh
And,
my
and
goodness.
so all his friends are trying to,
Okay.
all these guys were trying to set him up to punk him, and it actually happened. It's like, Jesus. It's like,
Wow.
I know, isn't it amazing? But that's my point. My point is women think very, very different ways. And so if you went up to, you'd have a 50-50 chance of getting their attention. That's what I think. Yeah, and you can't tell generally when it's going to work and when it isn't. So I don't know if you should necessarily abandon that as a tactic. That's my point.
I wish, man, I wish I talked to you when I was younger, because I'm pretty sure I would have more chances. Instead of being so shy, just come out and just say it. Like, I don't necessarily have to say, "Hey, I want to have sex with you," but hey, would you like to go on a date? I
Yeah.
would have been more openly, talking to women,
Right.
instead of being so shy. Yeah, yeah. Wow, that opened up. Man, time just flew by. Damn it. I missed that. I could have had that. Huh?
You're not the
Well,
only one, man.
I could have played the mathematical game here and just work off 50-50.
Right.
So if I asked 100 girls in a month, 50 of those girls I would have had, a chance with.
I actually think so. I think it'd be about 50-50, maybe a little less, but yeah, you definitely connect with some of them for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh man. Maybe hopefully, 20, 80 right now, maybe something like that.
You still have a shot though. I'm over the hill, but you should take the mantle up for all middle-aged men and go out and do this now. You should do that.
Okay. All right.
And
I'll do that. I'll do it.
Let's leave it at that for tonight, okay? I'm gonna go get something. I gotta pee. So I want to thank you for calling.
Nice talking to you, Jim.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it. I love talking to you. So you take care. All right.
Okay. You too. Bye.
That's Think. He's calling from upstate New York. Great guy. So we talked to him and we talked to Santa. I asked my mother to call in tonight, but she did not do that. I got a really, really fantastic phone system here now. I can tell when people call. I got their telephone numbers. I got their web addresses, all sorts of stuff. We even have if you ever bother calling again, and you should, we have an auto screening system. So the AI will ask you what you want to talk about, and it will print it on the screen for me. It translates it from speech to text. It's pretty cool. So yeah, we got that going on. We got it going on. It's like my wife hates it when I say that, but because she says, "Well, okay, boomer," but no, we do have it going on. All right, so we're gonna call tonight, folks. I want to thank you, folks, for thanking Santa for calling there. Nice talking to Santa. He's in Dubai. I told him to go to the mall. At any rate, and yeah, we got something done. Really appreciate it. Now tomorrow night we're gonna run the interview we taped on this weekend with Lee Richardson, psychologist from Dallas, on her book Crisis Brains. We're running that tomorrow night. We'll take some calls second half evening. And that's generally how we do this here. If you never watch a show or haven't watched it a lot, as a general rule, we have a guest in the first half, and then we do. I talk and yak, and you call in the second half. That's generally where it works. And on Friday, Sina McCullough, the medical correspondent of the Epoch Times from New York City, is going to be joining us. And we're going to talk about some medical stuff, specifically the bird flu epidemic in the United States, which is the reason your eggs cost $7. It's not just inflation. They killed like 1 bazillion chickens to get rid of this. And actually, apparently, it didn't work. We're still stuck with the bird flu, but we'll talk to Sina about that. I've never talked to Sina before, first time guest here. So that'll be fun. So anyway, thank you folks for listening and watching. Really appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Good night, Esperanza. Good night, Uncle Donnie. And good night to you, wherever you are. We'll see you tomorrow night, everybody. Take care.